Welcome to Wilaker, a Journeyers podcast. I'm Will Abels, and this is my story.
Left home, gone coast to coast in a hybrid car with a bag of clothes. Back on the wagon, back on the road. Would you have my back when I'm all alone? On a wing and a prayer, all out of favors. Hope to get $1 and a smile out of stranger. As the story is told and the plot unfolds, we laugh not to cry, but it's not a joke. No, it's not a joke. It's not a joke.
Hello, Millennials, and thank you for checking out Wilaker. I am on the road, and I would love for you to come to a show starting tonight, March 19th to the 21st. I'm in Boulder, Colorado. I'm about to do Comic Sense featuring for my friend Ben Roy. Then I'll be at Denver Comedy Works, March 23rd and 24th. Then I'm making my way to Boise, Idaho to be a part of Tree Fort Music Festival. I'm part of Comedy Fort, March 26th to the 28th, so come check out a show there. Then I'll be making my way to the Southwest starting on April 2nd at Flagstaff Brewing in Flagstaff, Arizona, where I'll be headlining. Then I'm meeting up with Ben Roy again to feature for him at Laughs Tucson, April 3rd and April 4th. Then I'm making my way to Santa Fe, New Mexico to headline at Cakes Cafe and Comedy Club on April 5th. Then I'm making my way to Dallas, Texas, where I'll be featuring for Cliff Cash at Dallas Comedy Club on April 9th. Then I'm sticking around to headline at Dallas Comedy Club in the Club Theatre on Sunday, April 12th. Then I'm making my way back to Nashville to be a part of the Nashville Comedy Festival. I'll be on panel for Ask a Fuckboy on April 17th. Then I'm making my way up to Louisville to feature at Planet of the Tapes. All of my tickets are listed on my Linktree /Will Abels Comedy. I got a lot more headlining dates coming up, so go check that out. Thanks for listening. See you at a show. Welcome back to Chapter 8 of Wilaker. I'm currently sitting next to a big old lake in Denver, Colorado. I'm back on the road. I'm going to be out here for a while. And I was like, let's continue this streak of recording outside. Because in no way will it come back to haunt me when this episode gets good and a gust of wind comes through and I can't use any of it. But it's a risk I'm willing to take. Picking up where we left off, I am losing my mind in the woods. Something new and different. I'm in Idaho. And, about to make my way to Seattle and then Westport. And then I go from there to Portland, Oregon. And this is my first time performing in Seattle, first time performing in Westport, only time performing in Westport. And actually, when I get to it, you'll find I'm still waiting to perform in Westport. Then from there, I'll go to Portland. That's also my first time. And it's going to be a lot of firsts for a minute. And I'm looking forward to it. But this chapter is interesting because there's some things I can talk about and some things I can't talk about because professionally it wouldn't do me any favors, but also, like, who gives a fuck is sort of where I'm also at with it. So some of the things that come up, I'm not going to go into details of what's talked about, but I guess just for your sake, because the majority of the people listening, I assume, aren't comics, based on who actually reaches out to me and says they enjoy it. I do get some comedians that reach out and they're like, hey, I'm checking it out. And mostly it's the ones that I mention, because I just want to make sure I'm not ruining their lives. But, so for like those of you that have never worked in comedy, any type of creative field, what I'm talking about is not that dissimilar from like working in an office, where in any professional setting, there are people around you, coworkers, that are just genuinely dog shit at the job, or they're not great to be around, they're obnoxious, any combination of these things. Obviously, I've been doing comedy a long time. It's the career I've had for the majority of my adulthood, and there's people that like are just really bad at the job or just kind of suck, and they continue to climb up the ladder. And it's not just comics, it's bookers, it's, gatekeepers, all these things. And you will see them be shitty, and no one else will. And you start to go insane. And you're like, am I losing it here? Like, what? How can no one else see what I'm seeing? And then every once in a while, someone has had the same experience you had, because you work with a lot of sociopaths, and a lot of sociopaths are also narcissists. Usually it's one and the same. And narcissists are really good at making you feel good, and they're great at pretending to be a nice person or a positive person, but they will slip up because it's not actually in their nature. And so every once in a while, you meet someone who has seen them slip up, and they see what you see, they've experienced what you experience, and you don't feel as insane, right? Like, you get to go, oh, so you also know this. And unfortunately, especially in the entertainment industry, most people that are successful are kind of shit. You have to be maniacally competitive and sort of awful. You got to step on a lot of heads to get from the drowning, from the boat that's sinking to the giant luxury ship that you want to be on with all the other celebrities. And in between that, you got to kind of go, sorry, Jack, there's no room on the door. I want to live. I want to live, Jack. And so Seattle was great because a lot of this sort of, just these things, honestly, almost entirely in Nashville. Some of the things that I've seen over the last couple of years, I'm like, God, this, like, am I losing my mind? Like, does anyone else see this? And I got some justification on some of these things. And truthfully, that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm just going to say that there are certain comics I ran into. We had certain conversations about certain people, certain coworkers, and they genuinely were like, no, you're not crazy. That's what happens. And that just alleviated so much pressure and anxiety. And then you can take a step back and really ask yourself, does any of that matter? And it doesn't. It doesn't, but when it builds and builds and builds and it's piling up, it's hard for you to just kind of, chip away at the pile so that it stays manageable in terms of your anxiety and your, the way you look at yourself, comparing yourself to others, because there's so much of that imposter syndrome that you deal with. And so you think you're doing well, then you see someone else doing something, and then everyone's always talking about them. They never talk about you, and it's ego, right? It's your own ego, it's their ego, it's all types of egos clashing. But yeah, because this was genuinely a really positive part of the trip. And as you're putting together, like, now that I have reflection on it, a lot of this trip is very positive. It's just that below the surface, I was dealing with actual turmoil in terms of my drinking and anxiety, but all of it was just that necessary pressure to make a diamond at the end, because I'm doing so much better now. I'm touring so much more. I'm having more dates coming at me than I've ever had. I'm not only reaching out, like, I'm actually getting offers. And it's really, I'm having some conversations with some people that I've wanted to always talk to and work with, and a lot of great things came out of this time period. But I'm in the throes of it, and we're coming up on a dark period of the trip. But Seattle was really not one of them, although it almost became one right out the gate. So let me get into the story. I love that because I know some of you are just in here for the drama, and I was like, you know what? I'm actually not going to talk shit. And you're like, well, I'm turning it off then. God damn it. So picking up where we left off, I'm in Idaho. I have discovered the lovely sand points. I've balanced out a little bit in terms of how anxious I am. But I'm still, like, isolated in the woods, no cell phone service. I will say this, it's something I kind of forgot to mention. It is shocking how easily I got used to just walking around this campsite naked. Because the shower was not close to where I was actually camping. It was, not like far, but it was, it was probably 30, 40 yards away. And you just kind of go, fuck it, no one's out here. Now, eventually I find out that there aren't people that far away, but still, it is funny how, like, just, at least for me, personality type-wise, how quickly I assimilated back into Mother Nature. But I wake up, I say as I sleep in my Subaru because I'm scared of bears and didn't want to actually camp outside. And, like, I don't even think I finished my ramen noodles. I don't know what I did finish my ramen noodles, and then I was just like, all right, I hope I clean this properly and I don't get eaten tonight. Anyway, so I wake up in Idaho. I go back to Sandpoint to the coffee shop that I had mentioned before. Kind of have a last farewell there. And then I start making my way to Seattle for the first time. Seattle's not that far. It's only a few hours. But if you're from Seattle, if you've ever been to Seattle, everything in Seattle is like 2 hours away. it's very much like, not even Los Angeles is like this, as far as I remember. Like, I was like, oh, I have 3 shows in 3 different parts of Seattle. They might as well have been in different cities. Like, it was actually kind of crazy. But like I said, I kind of took my time getting there. It wasn't that hard of a drive during the day, up until I hit Seattle and then realized, like, oh, yeah, everything is a million miles away and takes hours to do anything. So I did kind of get to the show, like, right as it was starting. And I really, like, I do that so often, and I hate it because I'm just sort of rattled and I don't really get to settle. But I'm so used to it at this point that it's like, if I have time to chill and relax, I feel like I can't get my energy up before a show. So I don't know. That's one of the issues, is like when you're always functioning with high anxiety, once you are able to calm down, you can enjoy it, and it messes with your workflow. Anyway, so the first show was set up by Comedy and Kitsap at Remedy, and I walk in. It's a cool bar, got a stage set up in the back. It's not super full, but enough that I was like pretty happy with it. It was a Thursday night, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was Thursday night, first show, and it's also the first one performing in Seattle. So I was happy that the shows were spread out throughout the area, because I got to explore a bit more and just kind of, it was one of those things where like different parts of the city had different demographics, and I think Bremerton might have been a little bit more conservative. I think there's like a military base nearby. But either way, I'm learning that I can kind of talk to anybody. Now, there's certain people that none of us can talk to, but I don't know. I guess the way I do my comedy is, I can be political, I can talk about social issues, but I still make it funny. So I'm learning that I'm actually pretty good at talking to most people. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So I get to Remedy. The people running the show all are super nice, and I'll make sure I list all of them. And the show starts, and just right out the gate, it's just a fun show, Like, when you do bar shows, there are certain bars that should not be doing comedy, and that is because the clientele, as supportive as they are of the venue, of that bar, of that establishment, they're not there to hear a bunch of us extend our therapy sessions onto stage, right? This was not one of those places. Everybody was really fun. But I was, like I was saying, like, I'm a little thrown off because I just kind of got there. The show sort of just started. It starts off a little slow, as most shows do, but then it kind of keeps going, and as everyone's getting comfortable, the show's getting better and better. And I'm kind of having one of these where I'm like, well, I'm in a new city. I should just do the hits. And again, I kind of touch back into the shows in Bozeman, watching Rory in Portland, Maine, and I'm like, if you want to sell tickets in the future, you have to start right now. And it's not about just being a comic, it's about being Will Abels, right? So I get up and I do as much new material as I can. I'm very loose, not really doing crowd work necessarily, because that's not really my thing. But, I do a new joke about Morgan Wallen, and it's a joke that, like, it shouldn't be in any way polarizing, but it is, because people in country music are dumb as shit. And if you are like, oh no, Morgan Wallen is country music. He's not. He's pop. And he sucks. But anyway, that's not the point. Do this joke, making fun of Morgan Wallen, and this lady in the front row, this guy who looks like he is probably a biker and could kick my ass, she's like slamming him on the arm, and he's like, yeah, he's right. So, just a really fun show in general, and the stage was great. They recorded it. Everything looked good. And I just had a fantastic time, and it was genuinely just kind of picked up where we left off in Montana, right? And just a positive night in general. Then afterwards, the venue switches over to karaoke. Everyone kind of leaves. It's Thursday night. It's the summer, Karaoke, I don't know. I guess it's more of a late night thing in the summer. But I stick around with a couple of the comics, a couple of audience members, and I shit you not, these 4 dudes, probably pushing their late 40s, each of them were like individually the most handsome man I've ever seen, but they each had some kind of variation. Like, one was like a hot South Pacific guy with long hair. Another dude that was like kind of a silver fox. They're all just like good-looking dudes. And they get up, and every song they sing, they absolutely crush. And I am like, what the hell is going on here? Right? So I get up to sing karaoke, and I call it out, and I'm like, this is amazing watching the 4 of you guys just supporting each other, just being 4 dudes that are like, yeah, tonight we're going out singing. They didn't appreciate it, and they didn't really respond to that. And I was like, all right, well, that was weird. I thought I was being positive, but, to each their own. And then I find out later, because one of the people that was with me, they did a little research. These guys were part of a Journey cover band that were playing at some venue nearby. What? Do we need that? I don't think so. But you know what? Maybe if they were a little nicer to me, I would be like, yeah, you know what? Great, Journey, hell yeah. But a Journey cover band, I don't know what their names are. I'm not going to look it up, and I'm not going to plug them because they didn't. I'm out here trying to spread positivity as I started this podcast talking shit, and these guys gave me nothing. Anyway, afterwards, I believe, if I remember correctly, one of the audience members offered to let me crash to their place, and I just didn't want to. I was like, no, I'm good. Because, like I said, once you get out west, you can crash in a Cabela's, you can crash in a Walmart parking lot, and I'm starting to just kind of embrace this lifestyle. And also, I'm waiting on a couple checks to come in, so money's starting to get as tight as it can possibly get, and I'm starting to tap into the mom and dad fund a little bit, being like, hey, I might need some money here and there. And I don't love that. It's not my favorite thing to admit, but you know what? It's what happened. And yeah, so that was something I would have to kind of lean back into every once in a while. But I tried very hard not to. But like the thing with like doing some of this road stuff, it is shocking how cavalier a lot of these venues can be about paying you. And they're just like, yeah, we'll pay you when we pay you. And you're like, okay, but I need to pay for things. Yeah, I don't know. So it's really frustrating, but I'm more used to it now, and I'm learning that I have to operate as if no shows pay me, which is kind of insane to say out loud, but it's just true. So I go to a Walmart parking lot. I see like 5 camper vans around me. And I get my bed set up for the night, and I go to sleep. Sleep great. Like I said, the sun's coming out at 5 a.m. That Walmart was 24 hours, so I get up at like 6. I go in, brush my teeth. I'm in a Walmart. I look kind of insane, but it's a Walmart, so no one notices. And then I don't really know what to do with myself, you know? And so I type in nearest coffee shop. I'm still in Bremerton. And it takes me to this like little dock kind of, you know, this nice little bay or port or whatever you want to call it, and it's just lovely, and it's just, you know, and I'm kind of breezing over how stressed out I actually am because of the money stuff, and I wake up and I feel like I'm kind of like, God, like, you know, it's these highs at night followed by lows in the morning, and that is the most consistent thing that happens this entire trip. But I get to this little dock in this port, and I'm walking around, I find a good parking spot. And I'm just like, this is beautiful, and what a way to start my day. I get a coffee, and I'm walking around, and I honestly start crying, because I don't know, like, not crying out of sadness or stress. It's just, like, the trip just keeps throwing me these little kind surprises, and you have to remember that we only have one life, and if you can't enjoy these little moments, then what's the point? Like right now, I'm sitting next to a lake. I got my legs crossed. I'm on a little sandy beach. I'm in Colorado. And tonight's show could suck, right? But I'm having this really nice moment now, just sitting here and talking to you guys about comedy and Kitsap and all that kind of stuff, and bitching about comedy. So, you know, it's just a moment where you get to enjoy life for a second. And so I walk around, and then I find this restaurant so I can get myself breakfast. And of course, this place, they run comedy. They're part of the comedy and Kitsap thing, so they kind of know what I'm doing. And sit down and start chatting up the bartender, and just spend the next hour and a half there, you know, just hanging out with the bartender and kind of getting my life together. Now, the other thing about Seattle is I never lined up housing, because I had a hotel for after the Saturday show, which was set up by my friend Monica Nevi. And if you get a chance, go see Monica. Monica is so funny and so good. But she has a show set up at the Carco Theatre on Saturday. It's Friday, and I just kind of thought, whatever, I'll just crash in my car. But I told Monica, and she was asking around, and finally she finds a person that will let me crash, the one and only Mike Heath. And Mike was literally on my couch as of yesterday morning. So, spoiler alert, it goes well. Mike and I get along fine, and we have a wonderful time. So Mike offers to put me up, and it's great. Perfect. Awesome. So I coordinate with Mike. I hang out this place for a little while, enjoy Bremerton, you know, just kind of walk around. I go to Mike's, I shower, and then my show is not till midnight. I wasn't able to line up any shows during the day. And there's a new venue called Emerald City Comedy Club, which it is, as far as I know, the only club that is both Bark Entertainment and Helium. Most clubs, especially these chains, they don't want to work together. They'll put a lot of clauses in. They're like, well, if you do this club, you can't come back here for 6 months. Sometimes they're like, you can't come here ever. Like, you're working with that club. We don't want to work with you. They're combining, which I've heard comics are kind of back and forth on because they think it's a monopoly, which I guess by definition it is. But I think it's great. I think it opens up more doors, and I would love if those two, because as far as, just based on my personal opinion, Bark and Helium are the only two comedy chains I really want to work with all the time. Not saying that I don't want to work with anyone else, but like I enjoy my shows that I do through Helium. I've enjoyed my shows I've done through Bark. Bark is way more limited in terms of experience-wise than they are with Helium, but I've enjoyed it. I don't have any problem with them combining. So another thing is I tried to set up shows there, but it used to be called Comedy Bar, and it was through Jess Anderson. And Jess was like, look, I have this new venue. I'm not booking features yet, but I'd love for you to come check it out. She was out of town, but Mike takes me over there, and we meet up. We see Hannibal Buress, who I'm actually performing with next weekend at Treefort. But Hannibal Buress is there. Hannibal was like the king of Brooklyn when I lived there. So this was kind of a nice treat for me, and I'm checking out Emerald City. It's an awesome venue. Hannibal's crushing. It was cool. It was a cool moment. So Mike leaves a little bit earlier to go to a open mic, and I miss the open mic. I get there, and then karaoke starts. This is a very karaoke-heavy themed trip in Seattle. And then I sit down with two of the other open micers, and we just kind of talk comedy, and it's always fun talking to comics that are brand new, because I know I was the exact same, just the arrogance and the confidence that you know everything that you're talking about. There's moments now when I say something and then I'll talk to a comic ahead of me that just absolutely destroys any beliefs that I had in comedy. And I was trying to not do that, but there's a couple things they said that I was like, no, that's not right. But I also remember that these guys are starting comedy in a very strange time, Kill Tony's still king. The exposure to comedy is way higher now than it was then. Back when I started, there was a ladder that you climbed and it made sense, It was open mics to bar shows, to hosting at the club, to featuring, doing the road, to hopefully doing Comedy Central or HBO and late night spots, and that was it. That was all you could do. And now there's so much more to do. So I kind of remembered that as I was talking to them. And it's sort of also funny talking to young comics because once they put together that I've been doing this for a while, they're like, oh, this is a guy. And then we went to the midnight show. And it's a rougher show just because it's midnight on a Friday in the summer and everyone's out having fun. Nothing against the venue. It's always great. Monica even was like, hey, it's a lighter night. That's what's happening. And I kind of bomb, and I bomb in front of these two open micers. So I know that they probably walked away and they're like, that guy kind of sucked. So go back to Mike's place and I sleep for the night. And when you crash with people, especially strangers, sometimes they're just kind of like, hey, you do your thing. I'm going to keep living my life. Mike and I got up, made me a cup of coffee. I got to know him. He got to know me. And then he decided he was going to take me around. It is one of the very rare weekends that it is sunny and gorgeous in Seattle. So I, again, very spoiled this whole trip, especially in Seattle. Just gorgeous. So he takes me to the Esplanade. It's the one where there's the old factory stuff is kind of just sitting around and it's rebuilt. And we walk around there for a bit. There's a rave happening outside. And I kind of express interest to go to a brewery because of course I do. And there's one right on the water. And Mike and I go to the brewery, sit outside, have a lovely couple of hours, just talk comedy. And Mike's, he's a few years in, very funny. And one thing that really stuck out to me about him was he was so practical with his goals. I meet a lot of young comics that are like, I want to do Kill Tony, I want to be headlining by next week. And you're like, all right, good luck. Mike was practical, He's like, I want to host regularly. I want to have a really good 10 minutes. And I just enjoyed talking to him. He just had a really great understanding of comedy. He's traveling a bit, so he sort of knew some of the players that I knew. And we had a really great day. Then we got tacos. And I could have just spent the rest of the day hanging out with Mike. I didn't get to see him a ton in Nashville. You know, we were kind of ships in the night at my own apartment, but I heard he crushed at Zany's. I got to catch his set at my open mic. It was very funny. It was interesting. It was something I haven't seen. He did a really funny joke about being an introvert and then just kind of lashed out at it. I hope that was part of the act because it was so funny. But it was great, and I made a new friend. And I drove separately to hang out that day. Mike had offered, but I was like, no, I need my car so I can go to the Carco Theatre. And Mike's driving this badass, like, purple Corvette. And I was like, well, if you had pitched that, I would have driven with you. But overall, just a lovely time hanging out with Mike. So then I go to the Carco Theatre. A couple of things that were really fun about this. One, I'm featuring for Billy Wayne Davis. This is my first time meeting him, and he is someone that I've always wanted to work with. Always been the last couple of years, you know. Moving to Nashville has opened up the doors to a lot of comics that I didn't get a lot of exposure to in New York because they're Southern and they're road dogs, you know. And Nashville opened up the West more, it opened up the South more, and I finally got to work with Billy Wayne, and I love his act. I love what he stands for. I love his political ideologies, and I was excited to work with him. Another thing that was exciting, Monica Nevi set this up. Monica and I met in St. Louis. I reached out to her independently. It was Helium St. Louis, and I reached out to her being like, hey, I love your stuff, and I'd love to feature for you. I was pretty honest. I was like, I'm trying to feature more with Helium. And she was honest, and she was like, I didn't have a great experience with my feature last time, so yeah, come out there. I get to St. Louis. Monica and I get along great. You know, we spend the next day together just hanging out. We go and we, like, sniff out some oysters and, you know, just really got along. And after the show, it was Mardi Gras. I wasn't going to tell this story, but I guess I will because it's part of our experience. So my living situation in St. Louis, my housing was not ideal. It was a bit crazy. I'm not going to go too deep into it because it's a little sketchy in terms of, like, I don't know how this played out, and I don't know if there's legal ramifications happening with the person I stayed with. But basically, they hit me up and they were like, hey, do you and Monica want to do an extra spot, and I'll give you $150? And I was like, no. And then she was like, no, $150 each. And I tell Monica. Monica's like, yeah, let's go do it. It's Mardi Gras weekend in St. Louis. They have the second biggest Mardi Gras in the country. So we go down to this tent 45 minutes outside of St. Louis. This massive party's happening. And I do like 15 minutes. Monica does like a half hour. The first show's fine. It's inside. No one's listening. Whatever. First show done. Then we go outside of the tent. And it is just bedlam. Like, honestly, my set went fine because people were listening. But then Monica gets up. She starts doing her act. And the band after us, they just start doing a sound check during Monica's set. So Monica stops and she turns and she's like, do you want me to stop? And the producer's like, no, I paid you. Keep going. So Monica's doing her headliner set while this band, and not just like doing a sound check, like playing a little music in the background. The vocalist is singing. She is checking her mics while Monica is also doing her set. It was insane. But horror shows like that make you better friends. And so then we go back to St. Louis. We headline that night. She headlines that night at Helium, and we just have genuinely a wonderful time. So we stay friends. Monica sets up all my shows, or helps get me set up with all my shows in Seattle. And now I'm doing the Carco Theatre featuring for Billy Wayne Davis, and Monica's going to host. Another thing that was fantastic about the show is one of my friends, Victoria, is coming down from Vancouver, and she's bringing her partner, Cosmo. I'm meeting him for the first time. And Victoria was one of my best friends back in New York. We met towards the tail end of my time there, and we just got along. We hung out all the time. She actually helped me a ton with social media. But we were just really good friends, and she was someone that I never had to explain my nomad lifestyle, which is the delicate way, the fun way that I'm calling living out of my car while living in New York. But just someone that I got along with. We ran into each other once in Nashville while she was touring around. The two of them, they live up in Vancouver, but they do the van life stuff. They travel everywhere. Now they have a boat. She was passing through Nashville, and I got to see her then. We had a great time there. And now I'm getting to see her again in Seattle. So, super pumped. Go to check into my hotel, get to the theater, hang out in the green room, get to know Billy Wayne better, and the show is just fantastic. It is so much fun. Monica opens up the show great. I do a lot of my new stuff. I'm comfortable. I'm feeling good after the last set from Thursday. And even though I didn't do great on Friday night, whatever, I'm still rolling. And I have a great time. And they're just a goofy audience. I could be goofy with them. I had fun. And then Billy Wayne gets out there and he just murders. And I'm catching up with Monica, and just overall, fantastic evening. And then afterwards, my hotel's right down the street. We go into town in Carco, and I get to know Cosmo better, and I get to catch up with Victoria. And it was just such a solid weekend of getting to have my past all kind of line up in the present, and really it was just a positive experience. And and then Mike and I have become buddies, and now he's crashing at my place in Nashville, cut to a year later, and it was just fantastic. And yeah, I don't know, like I'm saying, very low mornings and great evenings. Now I am getting very short on cash. Monica paid very well for the Carco Theatre and her midnight show. I made a little bit of money in Bremerton, but things are getting extremely tight. Now that Sunday, I had an option to go to Portland, Oregon, and do a show with my friend, but I opted to go to Westport because I wanted to do one more headlining show and hopefully fund the rest of that week in Portland, because Portland showcases, I'm just going to make a couple of dollars here and there. And that's where I'm going to pick up the next chapter, is starting in Westport and getting into Portland, because the low mornings and high nights, the balance starts tipping into lower and lower and lower, and my drinking starts getting to a point where I don't know if I'm coming out of this again. So that's been Chapter 8. I will make sure I list all the shows and people I met and comics I met in Seattle, and I hope that it wasn't too windy, because I really enjoyed this chapter, and I hope you did as well. But if you're in Seattle, check out Comedy in Kitsap, check out Monica Nevi, check out Mike Heath, and I'll see you in Chapter 8.
Left home, gone coast to coast in a hybrid car with a bag of clothes. Back on the wagon, back on the road. Would you have my back when I'm all alone? On a wing and a prayer, all out of favors. Hope to get $1 and a smile out of stranger. As the story is told and the plot unfolds, we laugh not to cry, but it's not a joke. No, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. Ooh.